So today we're going to go over if functions, and they are very important because this is like one of the basics formulas that everybody uses in Excel. It allows a user to compare between what is expected and a variable. It's a logical formula that if the criteria is true, it gives one response, and if it's false, it gives a different response. It can be nested, so you can use it with several other formulas to get one output. And it can be used with number, text, and other formulas. So that's kind of the coolest thing. So we are going to go over in this session. We're not going to, there's so many different ways of doing it, but we're going to go through if function equals a text, if it equals a number, if it's greater than. I'm going to show you the base, and I'm going to show you the best practice. If you want to put in wording, we're going to use an if and function. We're going to do an if and between dates, and then we're going to do a nested function. Now, what you need to take away from this is okay, I've seen that. How do I do it? I go back to the PowerPoint and say, okay, this is the formula. This is how I set it up. But what we're going to do is we are going to go into, and we're going to go right into the Excel and go right into this and start it. This is the data that we're working with. We've got all this data, and it's like, it's not too bad. It's only, it's only 1,500 lines. So it's not really big data yet, but so it's easily, we can easily manipulate it in Excel. So what we're going to do is the first one we're going to do is we're going to do the ifs if it's a text. If I go in and I put in the filter, and under the account description, I want something that says computer. I only want computer equipment. I can unselect, and I select computer, and it'll tell me all the files, all the rows that have computer equipment listed under account description, right? So that's what we did last time. But what happens if we want to see all the data, not just the computer equipment lines, but we do want to see where those are showing up? So instead of doing a filter here, we are actually going to do an if statement over here. So the first thing we're going to do is get rid of all the filters because I don't want them on there when I'm doing my formulas. And we're going to start by setting up a if statement. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you have this FX line showing up at the top of your screen. This actually lets you view the formula as you're typing it, as you're setting it up. If you do not see the FX line, so if you guys all get into this data sheet, it should be original file if statements. If you want to go to view, you'll see that there's a couple things here clicked. You've got formulas, so if it's not clicked, it won't have the formula. And if it's clicked, it does have the formula. I always leave this open so I can see where I'm working at. You can make it larger. You can make it one line. I always leave it one line unless I need to see the other lines, and then I can go there. So what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to open up the FX box. So I use...
Hey, Lucy, do you
Yes.
have to be at the top? Like, do you have to be at line 7?
I have to be at line 7 to create. Oops, yes, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all.
I see what you're saying.
I do
Yes,
that all the time. Anyway.
I was in line. If you create the formula in line 613, you're going to have to copy it all the way up and all the way down. Whereas if you start at the top, it makes it a lot easier to copy it down. So thank you, Todd. I appreciate that. Okay, so now we're going to start with the FX line. If you click on the FX box, it gives you options. It says, what function do you want? The most recently used ones will show you everything that you've used recently. And I've used a couple. If you want to, if you don't have that, you can actually go to specific, and like if you want to do statistical, I don't know if that would not be it. I actually go to all because I don't know exactly which one is in each of these, so I just go to all. Usually they're in alphabetical order, and then you're just going to go searching for the if statement, and it's, you know.
If I had to guess, I would think it was under logic.
That probably is true. And okay,
yeah.
I'm going to actually go back there and check on logical. Yep, there it is. And actually it has the and statement. So those are two of the things that we're going to use today. So we're going to click on the if, and it doesn't matter which grouping you pull it out of. The if function is the if function. So you're going to hit OK. What it does is it opens up the function argument box. And I use this whenever I create a formula for the first time, because it's going to actually tell you how to do it. In a lot of cases, you may want to type it out, but for the first time you're working with anything, you want to do the function box. So what happens is the function box gives you the different parts of the if statement. So we want to position ourselves on the S7 line, because that's the beginning of our data. Now you see this function box can move all over the place. It makes it easier to so you can see what you're looking at. So in this case, I want the logical test to say if H7 equals computer equipment. Now it has to be typed exactly the same, but it is not case sensitive. When you actually ask the logical test for a word, you have to put quotation marks around it, or it will say it's incomplete. Okay, so it says H7 equals computer equipment. Okay, it's saying it's false because H7 doesn't say computer equipment. We're going to follow along what it's telling us here. We want to say if the value is true, put in H7. All right, now you notice H7 here and H7 there, I've got one capitalized, one not capitalized. Excel in this formula box does not care. It will automatically capitalize it when we're done. Now I want it to be H7 if it's true, and if it's false, I want it to be nothing. Oops. Which means you put two quotation marks in there. So that means it's going to be blank. All right. So this is the if statement. This is how we do it. So when we hit OK, we see blank, and that's what we'd expect to see because computer equipment is not here. Now, if we copy this cell down to line 8, it actually does have computer equipment in H8. And the other thing that you'll notice is in this formula, it's H7. When we copy it down, it's H8. Excel knows to change the line as you copy down. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this all the way down to the 1500 lines. Now I do a trick because I don't like doing this every time. So at the first time I do this, I'm going to copy down. Now I'm going to go down to the end. I'm going to put an X in. I put an X in the next couple of columns because every time I copy down, I'm going to hit end down and it will copy down to the end. And the end is the last blank line. Once it hits the next cell that has something in it, it will stop. So as you see around here, this actually is if text. Okay, or actually I'm going to say if computer. I'm just going to name the header that way so that we know what we've done. So there's actually a formula in each one of these cells. You see how it goes up and down? But you don't see it. So like when you go to filter, if you wanted to filter by computer equipment, you'd get the same thing as if you filtered on account description. But you also, without having the filter in now, you can actually see, oh, it shows up here. So you can actually, visually, it's a little easier to see everything and then just see, you know, a column here. In some cases, you're using this as a check. Sometimes you're using it for other informational stuff.